because I have a pretty long record with the credit unions and on business and financial issues, there are some things that may already be answered for you in your, y'all as an organization track people's votes and where they are and so forth. And having served for 10 years in the Congress and had a pretty good relationship with the credit unions, I have a pretty long record, and I generally think that past performance is the best predictor of future performance. So on a number of issues, I think that I probably have a very strong record with respect to credit unions and small business lending. Very strong pre-enterprise kind of person. And I believe in low taxes and fair regulations, and I believe that small business is the engine of economic growth in America. And I think we need to, I believe very strongly that government doesn't create wealth. It does create the conditions for small businesses and entrepreneurs to invest and create jobs. And that means having access to capital. And for a lot of folks, it's not the big banks that are lending to the small entrepreneurs who just need that loan to get another truck to expand the painting business and hire another crew. It is community banks, small banks, and credit unions. That's where people get their start, and that in their own savings. So credit unions provide that opportunity, and for your members, it's the loan to replace the refrigerator. It's the small personal kinds of loans, and frankly, car loans. And the car, I still have the car I bought from you guys at the sale, by the way. I'm a continual embarrassment to my teenagers because I drive a 14-year-old Subaru, so it's kind of tough, But the even sadder thing is that's the nice car in the family. I'm not really big on cars as status symbols, I tend to be low tax, fair regulation, free enterprise kind of person. There are a couple of things that I know that are current issues that you all asked about, and I'll just tell you kind of where I am on these. With respect to the Community Reinvestment Act, that wasn't put in place because of the credit unions, and I don't think it's something. I actually think that a lot of the requirements of the Community Reinvestment Act are probably too stringent with respect to our small banks as well. And so I think some of those actually need to be rolled back with respect to banks, not expanded to cover more small community-based lenders. So I don't think we have any issues with respect to that. And likewise on tax status, current tax-exempt status for credit unions is I think is the right way to be. And if it has to do with increased taxes, chances are I'm against it. So I don't think we'll have any concerns there. With respect to business lending, there's actually a fairly long letter about this issue has come up before. There's a fairly long letter in the back that I wrote and edited. There's no date on the letter, but I assume it's from when I was in Congress. Who had the copy of the letter?
That was 2008.
2008. I was a little surprised there's no header on it, no signature, and no date.
That was a reply that was sent to folks that were writing to you about Korea. And it was right around the time of the letter that we sent right back 2 years, so it was around at the end of May of 2008.
Okay. It's very unusual for me to send a letter without my signature on it, which is why I asked. And there's no letterhead on it. So I just wondered what...
It was an email.
It was an email response.
I'm sorry?
It was an email response.
Oh, so it's an email. Okay, that's why. But at any rate, the issue at the time, and it's not something that I've tracked closely relative to where the current legislation is probably pretty well set out in that letter. I had some concerns about the way the legislation was drafted in 2008, and I don't know how the current legislation that Mr. Royce and I think it's McCarthy have submitted and where that is with respect to any changes that have taken place since 2008. But my substantive concerns and the analysis of the bill is in that letter of kind of where it is. And I can't tell you that I've looked in detail at the legislation, and this may be an issue where you want to talk to me about what, if anything, has changed both in the markets, but also in the regulatory environment, and what has changed in the legislation. Because frankly, you all are going to know more about that than I'm going to know. One of the things I learned from being in the Congress 10 years is you come with your story and your expertise, but you're never going to be able to be expert in everything, so you have to find people who can help you. And in my experience, the credit unions were always really pretty good about that and saying, all right, here's the deal, this is what it does, this is how it works. So you have to find people that you can call, including at odd times of the day and night, about weird amendments and so forth. Payday lending, I don't support caps on payday lending. I know that's actually, a lot of it is a state issue. And I actually didn't, I don't think that, of course they just had a short session this year, but I generally don't support that. And with respect to capital and the financial crisis, which was the other thing that you had asked me about, I have to admit that I started reading through this paragraph and I started getting lost in the question, which is not a good thing. And in looking at capital ratios and net worth and so on, and this probably gets to my point of sometimes it's better to listen to people and what the concern is and understand the concern better rather than just, answer the question without a full understanding of exactly what's happening in the financial markets, the triggers that you're seeing, and modify before you, as a United States Senator or even as a former member of the House, take a specific position on something that looks to me to be a rather technical issue unique to your industry. And then you asked whether I am a member of a credit union. My husband and I are. And we have been for a long time. So a couple of them. You guys and Jay's, the ones out at the base as well. So when he moved here, he'd be a captain. And I'd like to just open it up for questions on your issues or on all kinds of other issues. Anything else you may want to ask of me?
When you talked about the low taxes and everything, I just, this is a political question to punch you out on, but why are they going to do it with the deficit? Every time we pick up the paper, the deficit grows and grows and grows. And in our business, there's an income stream, which is taxes, and there's definitely an outgo stream in Washington. How are you, if we want to keep protecting and looking at low taxes, how are we going to keep doing it mathematically, or is that?
We have a situation now. I was elected to the Congress initially in 1998. In 1998, 1999, 2000, and the first half of 2001, we balanced the budget and paid off $450 billion of publicly held debt. And the guy most responsible for getting us in that position was a guy named Pete Domenici, who was chair of the Budget Committee. It is possible to put ourselves in that kind of a situation where we're paying our bills and we're paying down debt. In the last 3 years, we've had a soft economy, but the federal government's gone on a spending spree. We've had a 30% increase in federal government spending in the last 3 years. 30% increase in 3 years. And so every small business and family around America has been tightening their belts and looking at where they can cut back on their expenses. Small businesses wondering whether they're going to have to let good people go. And the federal government has 150,000 more employees today than they did 3 years ago. It's unsustainable. And so the percentage of our economy that is controlled by the federal government is now up to 25%. So that's at a historic high. Government is trying to do too much. If you look at even what the so-called stimulus bill, $787 billion stimulus bill. When Bill Clinton was president of the United States, he wanted to do a stimulus bill too. And it's a philosophy of saying, all right, we've got a slow economy, maybe the answer is for the government to spend some money, get this going, borrow some money and spend it, get things. I don't agree with that philosophy. But that was the philosophy in 2009, 2010, and to some extent Bill Clinton shared it. But the difference was, this wasn't 787 billion. I have trouble with that many zeros after a number sometimes. This was 19 billion. And it was rejected Senate.